My name is Beth Sinclair, and the day my mother refused to help me was the day she unknowingly gave me the greatest gift of my life. At the time, it didn't feel like a gift. It felt like abandonment. It felt like standing in the rain while the people who were supposed to love you most quietly decided you were no longer worth the inconvenience. I was 26 years old when my husband Daniel died. One phone call changed everything. One ordinary afternoon became the dividing line between the life I had planned and the life I never expected to live. Daniel had been working on a neighboring ranch when a tractor accident took his life instantly. There was no goodbye, no final conversation, no chance to prepare. One moment I was a wife making dinner while our twin babies played on the floor. The next, I was a widow trying to explain to two one-year-olds why Daddy wasn't coming home. The days after the funeral passed in a blur. Bills kept arriving. The lease on our rental house was ending. The savings account disappeared faster than I thought possible. I spent night after night sitting at the kitchen table with a calculator, desperately trying to make numbers work that simply refused to work. Eventually, I reached a conclusion I didn't want to accept. I needed help. So I packed the twins into my truck and drove 90 minutes to my parents' house. The house where I grew up, the place I believed I could always return to if life ever completely fell apart. I knocked on the door carrying more hope than pride. My mother answered. My father stood behind her. I explained everything. I told them I only needed a few weeks, just enough time to figure things out, just enough time to find a job and stabilize my life. I wasn't asking them to raise my children. I wasn't asking them for money. I only needed temporary shelter. Beth, she said, you're an adult now. Adults solve their own problems. I stared at her, certain I had misunderstood. But she wasn't finished. We can't spend our lives rescuing you every time something goes wrong. Every time, my husband had just died. Nothing like this had ever happened before. Then she delivered the sentence I would remember for the next 8 years. We are not your safety net. I looked past her toward my father. He said nothing. I looked toward my younger brother. He avoided my eyes. No one moved. No one invited me inside. No one asked about the twins. No one offered a blanket, a couch, or even a cup of coffee. The conversation was over. I carried my children back to the truck and drove away. Halfway down the road, I pulled over and cried so hard I couldn't breathe, not because I had nowhere to go, but because I finally understood where I stood in my own family. That night changed everything, because after leaving my parents' house, I made one more phone call. I called Daniel's parents. I didn't ask for help. I only called because I needed someone to know I was struggling. Daniel's mother listened quietly. Then she asked where I was. I told her. 45 minutes later, she and Daniel's father arrived. No questions. No conditions. No lectures. His mother hugged me. His father loaded the babies into their truck. And Daniel's mother said 7 words that still make me emotional today. Come home with us. We'll figure it out. Just like that. No debate. No hesitation. No calculation. They opened their door. Those 7 words saved my life. Daniel's parents owned a small ranch outside Cedar Hollow. It wasn't impressive. The fences needed repair. The barns were aging. Money was always tight. But what they lacked in wealth, they made up for in kindness. For the first few months, I barely functioned. I helped with chores, took care of the twins, worked odd jobs whenever possible. Mostly I survived one day at a time. But eventually something happened. I stopped focusing on what I'd lost, and started focusing on what I still had. Before Daniel died, I had earned a degree in equine science. I understood horses, breeding, genetics, training. It was the one thing I truly knew. One afternoon, while helping around the ranch, I noticed a young mare everyone considered worthless. She had a slight flaw in one front leg. Nothing serious, but enough to make buyers ignore her. The ranch planned to sell her cheaply. Something about her caught my attention. I watched her move, studied her structure, examined her bloodlines, and I saw potential nobody else saw. I convinced Daniel's father to give me a chance. That mare's name was Juniper, and she became the foundation of everything that followed. For over a year, I worked harder than I ever thought possible. I trained horses, worked side jobs, read research studies late into the night. Slowly, Juniper began proving me right. She performed exceptionally well. Then her offspring started outperforming expectations. 2. Buyers noticed. Trainers noticed. Investors noticed. One of those investors was a respected horse breeder named Vivian Hargrove. She visited the ranch after hearing about Juniper. After watching the mare move, she turned to me and asked a simple question. What are you planning to build? Not, what are you selling? Not, how much do you need? What are you building? No one had asked me that before. Most people saw a struggling widow. Vivian saw an entrepreneur, a builder, a visionary. Together we created a breeding program centered around Juniper's bloodline. Every contract was carefully written. Every agreement reviewed by attorneys. Every asset protected. I learned something important during those years. Kindness is wonderful, but paperwork matters too. Good intentions should always be supported by clear agreements. So I built everything carefully. Ownership, rights, partnerships, protection. Brick by brick, year after year, the business grew, then it exploded. What began as one overlooked mare became one of the most respected breeding programs in the region. Money finally stopped being a problem. The ranch flourished, the twins thrived, life became stable, and strangely enough, that's when my parents suddenly remembered I existed. My mother started calling, my brother reached out, my father left messages. At first I thought maybe they regretted what happened, maybe time had changed them. Then an accident revealed the truth. One afternoon, my brother accidentally forwarded me an email chain. Buried inside years of messages was a conversation between him and my parents. A conversation about me. The messages were devastating. My mother had described helping me after Daniel's death as throwing good money after bad. She called me a poor investment. Then she wrote something I'll never forget. We shouldn't completely close the door. If she ever becomes successful, we may want a relationship later. Not because they loved me, not because they missed me, because I might become valuable. Reading those words hurt, but they also freed me. Because from that moment forward, I stopped hoping they would change. And once you stop hoping someone will become who they aren't, life gets much simpler. I focused on building, nothing else. Several years later, a major Western lifestyle company approached us. They wanted to purchase everything. The ranch brand, the facilities, the breeding operation, the contracts, the future. The offer exceeded $100 million. I read the proposal 3 times, then hired lawyers, then read it again. Eventually I accepted. But before finalizing the deal, I made several decisions. The first involved my children. I established an irrevocable trust for both twins. No one would ever be able to manipulate, pressure, or exploit them financially. The second involved Daniel's parents. I transferred ownership of their original ranch back to them free and clear. No debt, no obligations, no strings attached. The third decision mattered most. I established the Daniel Sinclair Memorial Scholarship Foundation. Its mission was simple: help single parents pursue careers in equine science and agriculture. The same opportunity that had changed my life. By the time everything was signed, there was nothing left to debate. Every dollar had already been assigned, every document completed, every decision finalized. Then news of the sale became public. And suddenly my family transformed into my biggest supporters. My mother told everyone she had always believed in me. My brother claimed our family sacrificed to help me succeed. My father talked about family unity. Was remarkable. Then they informed me they would attend the public celebration announcing the sale. They didn't ask. They assumed. Just like they assumed they would eventually benefit from it. The day arrived. Hundreds of people gathered at the ranch. Friends, neighbors, employees, business partners, mentors, the people who actually helped build everything. Then my parents arrived, along with my brother. Smiling, greeting reporters, posing for photographs, acting as though they were responsible for my success. I watched quietly. Then I stepped onto the stage. The crowd settled. I thanked everyone who had supported me. I shared the story of arriving at the ranch with nothing but 2 babies and heartbreak. Then I announced the Scholarship Foundation. The audience applauded. Next, I invited Daniel's parents to stand. I revealed that ownership of their ranch had already been returned to them. The applause grew louder. Daniel's mother cried. His father struggled to speak. Then I looked directly toward my parents. And I said the only thing left to say. Family isn't defined by blood. Family is defined by who shows up when life falls apart. The silence was immediate. My mother realized what had happened. There would be no inheritance, no payout, no reward. The money was already gone. Not wasted, not hidden, given exactly where it belonged. She stood up and accused me of humiliating the family. My brother demanded explanations. My father stared at the ground, but none of it mattered anymore, because the decision had already been made, years earlier. The moment they chose to close their door, security politely escorted them away. The celebration continued, and for the first time in my life, I felt completely free. Not because of the money. Money solves problems, it doesn't heal wounds. What healed me was finally understanding something I'd spent years trying to learn. The people who truly love you don't calculate your value. They don't ask whether helping you is profitable. They don't treat relationships like investments. When you're hurting, they show up. They bring food. They offer a couch. They answer the phone. They stand beside you when there's nothing to gain. That's what Daniel's parents did. That's what real family does. Today I live on a smaller ranch nearby. The Scholarship Foundation continues helping students every year. My children are grown enough to understand our story. And Juniper, the mare everyone once overlooked, still grazes peacefully in a pasture near the house. Sometimes I sit on the fence and watch her. And I think about how close she came to being discarded. Just like me. Turns out we had something in common. The world saw flaws. The right people saw potential. One person. One open door. One chance. My mother gave me a closed door. Daniel's parents gave me an open one. The closed door hurt. But the open door changed my life. And if I've learned anything, it's this. Never measure family by whose name appears on your birth certificate. Measure family by who stands beside you when you have absolutely nothing to offer in return.